Alright everybody, the 2023 Stanley Cup Playoffs are finally upon us. And after an exciting regular season with many of the game's brightest stars hungry for a championship, this has the potential to be an electric postseason, and I personally am hyped for round 1. We have some really good matchups and even some rematches from last year, so without further ado, let's get into the previews and my predictions. Starting it off in the Eastern Conference, we have the top seed in record-breaking Boston Bruins taking on the Florida Panthers in round 1. Boston has an incredibly deep team led by David Pastrnak, Brad Marchand, and Patrice Bergeron. Their defense core led by Charlie McAvoy and Hampus Lindholm is also arguably the best in the league. And oh yeah, they also have two of the best goalies in the league, in Ullmark and Swayman. The Panthers fought hard to get into the playoffs down the stretch, and with Tkachuk, Barkov, and Verhaeghe, they're also a team that can score goals in bunches. I think Boston will be too much to handle for the Cats. I'm taking the Bruins in 5. The Toronto Maple Leafs will have home ice in the round 1 rematch against the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are coming off of 3 straight trips to the Cup Final. Both of these teams have superstar talent up front, Mitch Marner, Willie Nylander, and Austin Matthews for the Leafs, and Nikita Kucherov, Braden Point, and Steven Stamkos for the Lightning. The Leafs have been a stingy team defensively this season, but the Lightning do have guys like Victor Hedman and Mikhail Sergachev. Although Tampa does have Vasilevsky who can steal games, Toronto's goaltending should be a little better than it was last year. Tampa has also played so much hockey recently, and the Leafs are starving for a playoff series win after so many disappointments. They could easily prove me wrong like last year, but I'm going to go with Toronto to win in 7. Next up, we've got the Metro Division champ Carolina Hurricanes against the New York Islanders. The Hurricanes are one of the most well-balanced rosters in the NHL and also have one of the best defensive units too, led by Jacob Slavin, Brett Pesce, and now Brent Burns. Sebastian Aho and Marty Necas have had solid seasons, but not having Andrei Svechnikov and Max Pacioretty could end up hurting the Canes at some point this postseason. The New York Islanders snuck into the playoffs after a season of inconsistency and lacking the ability to score goals on a lot of nights, but they do have a strong defense core and a goalie in Ilya Sorokin who can steal games and is one of the best right now. With that being said, I think the Hurricanes still get it done and take this series in 6. Now for the final Eastern Conference Round 1 matchup, we have the New Jersey Devils versus the New York Rangers. The Devils have been a great story in the NHL this year and are having much of their success thanks to young gun Jack Hughes, who broke the franchise record for points, and also Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt, and Dawson Mercer up front. Dougie Hamilton has also been huge on the blue line along with some other guys who have done a great job shutting down the opposition. The Rangers also have a ton of firepower on offense with guys like Artemi Panarin, Mika Zibanejad, Chris Kreider, and even adding Patrick Kane and Vladimir Tarasenko at the deadline. They have some playmakers on the back end like Adam Fox and Keandre Miller, and in net, Igor Shesterkin is still one of the top netminders in the league. I think this series will be a lot of fun, and I'm picking the Rangers to win it in 7. Moving on to the Western Conference, the top-seeded Vegas Golden Knights are set to take on the Winnipeg Jets in round 1. The Knights have done a great job battling injuries all year long, especially at the goaltending position, where pretty much everyone who's had to step in has done a nice job. Vegas has a lot of guys who can make things happen on offense and defense, and it'll be cool to see Jack Eichel in playoff action for the first time. The Jets have struggled with inconsistency a lot this season, but have won the games they've needed to win to get in. Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, and Pierre-Luc Dubois are all having solid years, and Josh Morrissey on defense is having a Norris caliber type of season. Connor Hellebuyck is obviously a huge potential X-factor in this matchup and has the potential to steal a series. I do think Vegas will be too much for the Jets, so I'm going to take the Golden Knights in 6 games. For our second matchup out west, we have another rematch from last year, the Edmonton Oilers versus the LA Kings. The Oilers have the NHL's best offense this year, led of course by 3 100-plus point scorers, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. On defense, adding Matthias Ekholm at the deadline could prove to be huge for Edmonton this postseason. And in net, Stuart Skinner has been solid and appears to have taken hold of the starter's crease. The Kings have a well-balanced lineup, and Anze Kopitar, Kevin Fiala, and Adrian Kempe have been studs for the team this year. Drew Doughty has also been really good this season, and while most of the year the goaltending for LA hasn't been great, Getting Jonas Korpisalo has been a great move. And if I were an Oilers fan, that would worry me a little bit because we've seen what he can do in the playoffs. Am I right, Leafs fans? Even still, I think the Oilers will get it done. I'm taking Edmonton in 6. Next, we have the Colorado Avalanche taking on the Seattle Kraken. Not having Landeskog will be tough for the Avs, but they still have Nathan MacKinnon playing some insane hockey, along with Mikko Rantanen having a career year coming off of a 55-goal campaign. Makar and Taves on the back end are also some of the best defensemen in the world, and in net, you could argue Alexander Georgiev is an upgrade over Darcy Kemper and has done well in his first year with the team. The Kraken have been an amazing story this year as well. Jared McCann with 40 goals, Vince Dunn having a killer year, and even likely Rookie of the Year, Matty Beniers. But the goaltending has been pretty poor, and that will likely get exposed in this series. The Avs will show Seattle what playoff hockey is all about. I'm taking Colorado in a sweep. And for the last round 1 matchup, we have the Dallas Stars versus the Minnesota Wild. The Stars have a sneaky, unreal roster, with one of the best lines in hockey in Jason Robertson, Roope Hintz, and Joe Pavelski. Miro Heiskanen is also having an amazing season as one of the most underrated defensemen in hockey. And in net, Jake Ottinger is an absolute stud and his playoff numbers are off the charts. Minnesota is also a really fun team to watch. Kirill Kaprizov is back and is a game changer. Matt Boldy has also had a killer second half of the regular season, and the team plays a hard game built for playoff hockey. In net, Philip Gustafsson has been fantastic this season with some of the best numbers in the league. Marc-Andre Fleury has a ton of playoff experience and could step in and show out if the young netminder struggles. This was the hardest series for me to pick. I think it'll be super tight, maybe some OT games, but I'm going Minnesota in 7. This sets up for a second round matchup back east of Boston versus Toronto. And I think this is what most hockey fans would love to see. All signs point to the Bruins being the better overall team, but I think it'd be poetic if this is finally the year the Leafs conquer their demons. I'm taking Toronto in 7. And the other East matchup will be the Hurricanes and the Rangers. I think New York would be firing after a big round 1 win. I'm picking the Rangers to win in 6 here. This would leave Toronto against the New York Rangers in an original 6 conference final matchup. A lot of stars would be on display here, and I'm picking the Leafs to go to the Cup Final. Now for the West, first second round matchup would be Vegas versus Edmonton. This would be another fun series, but I think the Oilers will take it in 6. Then we would have Colorado taking on Minnesota. I think the Wild would be on fire after a huge round 1 victory. This would go down to the wire, but I'm taking Minnesota in 7. So that leaves a West final of Edmonton and Minnesota. I think this is the year for McDavid and Draisaitl to get to the Cup. This will be a hard-fought series, but I'm taking the Oilers in 7. So finally, we'd have an all-Canadian Cup final between the Maple Leafs and the Oilers. Many of the game's brightest superstars fighting for their first cups and trying to end long droughts for each of these franchises. I think this is Edmonton's year, so I'm going to take the Oilers to win it in 6. Make sure to let me know your predictions down below in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.